everyone. Welcome in another episode of Karan Zakir Talk Show. So today we'll be talking about water and energy crisis. And for today's discussion, I have invited an economist, Sir Samson Simon Sharaf. So let's get him on board. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Thanks a lot for coming and thanks a lot for giving me an opportunity to do this session with you. Here, please introduce yourself with my viewers. So,
Welcome everybody. My full name is Samson Simon Sharaf. I am a retired brigadier from Pakistan Army, and political economy is the subject of my interest, as it covers the entire spectrum of international relations, nuclear strategy, economics, sociology. So this is a subject which is very dear to me. It's a very broad encompassing definition. Thank you for having me
thanks a
around.
lot. Thanks a lot, sir, for great introduction. It's really impressive. So, sir, I would just begin with, you have also seen a horrendous picture in Pakistan, what's happening, like, of course, like price inflation, dollar inflation, and of course, like Pakistan is also facing with drastic water and, energy crisis. So, if you just can give a kind of brief view, the present scenario, what's happening of water and energy crisis in Pakistan, and how can we mitigate this present situation, whereas you are also seeing, in the whole South Asia region, that or the same scenario is there as well. If you're going to talk about Sri Lanka, you're going to talk about Afghanistan, the same price inflation is happening here. Of course, politics is also main issue there. So what would be your thoughts, what's happening in Pakistan in regards for energy and water crisis?
Uh, you have to relate the energy to the larger picture. The larger picture is that 2019 onwards, COVID hit the world,
Yeah.
and economies world over, they slowed down. People thought that Pakistan would also slow down.
Mhm.
Pakistan did slow down for the initial 18 months or so, but then, because of the good management, Pakistan got around the COVID limitations and the economy started growing. And for the past 2 years, Pakistan attained uh, a growth of about 6%, which is commendable. They were able to control the balance of payments, the current account deficit, and most they were able to regulate their energy industry. And with the energy industry, they were coming up with innovative plans and thinking out of the box.
Mhm.
Uh, Perhaps they were even planning to say goodbye uh, to the IMF program and were not likely to reconsider another program of IMF for the next 3 years. And they had done their hedging and they were all set about it. But then came the regime change operation,
Mhm.
which was very nasty. And the people who came after the illegal ouster of Imran Khan into the government, they had no plans. They were perhaps banking on their own old reputation. The parentage in that old reputation is monetary corruption and fudging with figures, and they could not control the situation. Therefore, the dollar went into a downward spiral,
Mhm.
uncontrollable spiral. They raised taxes, they introduced a new budget, which is a non-budget, so to say, a super tax that crashed twice. It crashed the stock markets. So while this was happening, the energy prices world over were again reducing, coming to about around $100 a barrel. That benefit has not been passed on to the people of Pakistan. And in fact, the escalation in the energy sector, all types of energy, is massive. And this is being done on the IMF dictates, saying that they will only get into a program with Pakistan after certain price hikes and other things are imposed. So they've done part of it already. And to add insult to injury, more hike is to follow. So this is what has created, it disrupted the entire supply chain mechanism which deals with the energy. And because Pakistan predominantly uh, depends on, despite massive resources, depends on uh, energy based production of electricity. So that has affected the entire country,
Mhm.
and the situation economically is not good right now.
So,
It is a self-created problem.
mhm,
It was not warranted, uh, because the previous government was doing it very well. They had a plan for it,
mhm,
and now they keep blaming the previous government. But every international report which comes forward vindicates the assertion that the previous government in the past 2 years did exceptionally well in
mhm.
economics and governance and everything.
All right. So I've also noticed, and as we know that Pakistan also itself produce coal, whereas you know that to generate power we need coal and gas, of course, and we have to um, uh, import it from other countries as well. So, what is the reason that although we produce our own coal, but we do not use it to generate power. So if you can shed some light on it, that why do not, what's the reason that we do not, generate power with that?
Okay, now first of all, Pakistan has a very impressive carbon crediting in the world,
Mhm,
much better than the developed world, for the reason that we hardly use any coal in our energy production. Uh, our signature in coal is very small.
mhm,
The major plant which has been set up in Sahiwal imports coal from abroad. The plant is designed on imported coal. It cannot use Pakistani coal. But the plants which are being operated at Lakra and Bayangro, they are using Pakistani coal. Uh, but the biggest reservoir of Pakistani coal for energy production is the lignite coal in the Thar block.
mhm,
And lignite coal is liquid coal, so it needs refinement and everything, converting that liquid into gasoline, into diesel, into ethanol, into briquettes, into water, fertilizer, compost, so many things. Uh, no project in Pakistan has been undertaken on the lignite coal at all. The people who were interested in producing lignite coal in Pakistan, they were not given uh, the allocation of the concerned block. The company was Tharpak. It was an American, South African, Pakistani, Australian consortium which was planning to generate enough electricity. And their claim is that had they got a foothold into the project and had they expanded it, Pakistan would have been self-sufficient for 100 years in petrol, diesel, ethanol, gas,
mm.
petroleum gas, natural gas, briquettes, and they would have converted the third desert into a green area because of the massive amounts of water which is released with the lignite. But they were not granted.
All right. So, if I talk about Kalabak history, and since childhood I've just read about it, but still, this project not yet been established. So, what do you think? Do you see the future, that it would be established in few years of time, or you do not see any further? Maybe development, or people would be thinking about, or maybe our politicians, they would just think about some progressive outcome of it. How do you see that, if you can shed some light on
I'm I'm uh, I'm part of a group called the Wreck on River Indus. Like a train wreck.
that?
It's a train wreck on River Indus, and we've got some terrific people on that. Perhaps I turn out to be the most unqualified and illiterate in that group. In that, we have discussed uh, Kalabag Dam with a reduced height can be a supplementary dam of the greater Swan Dam. and Swan Dam would be 8 times the size of the Vela. It will have tremendous storage capacity, so much so that all the hill torrents and the rains and the splitting glaciers up north, all that water can be collected in the Swan Depression, not only from River Indus but also from River Jhelum and its tributaries. It can have, there are 8 sites located where the water has enough drop to generate hydropower. It offers new ways of fisheries and new ways of navigation in a huge lake, and it can also help regulate flow of water into Indus River, whereas Indus River could be converted into a navigational channel, and yet enough water to be released in the mangroves of Thatta and Karachi coast. So this uh, Sawa Dam was planned as early as the end of 19th century. The government of Pakistan has not concentrated on it. So if Kalabag has to be made, a lot of people nowadays romancing with the name of Kalabag Dam. It is a highly politicized issue, but if we can make it supplementary to the greater Swan Dam, then the height can be reduced, and all the fears of the people in KPK, that is Nushaira and Mardan, Nizampur and other areas, they can also be taken care of, and lots of canals can be diverted into Dera Ismail Khan and Nizampur area and Rohat area. Lot of work on this can be done, uh, provided there is a will. But I think right now, the files of Sama Dam, they're gathering dust in the attics.
All right, sir. So, I have one question, like in regards for, I've also read one report, and in that report, like, I've just read that foreign countries, some other international countries, they are demolishing big dams. So, in your point of view, demolishing of big dams would be a good idea. And on the other hand, if we could make more smaller dams that could, provide more water, facility or more water provision in Pakistan. So, in that regard, what would be, your thoughts if you can just shed some light on that?
Okay. Now, as far as mega dams are concerned, the countries in the world that have made them, United States of America is there, Canada is there, there's some other, China, for instance, has
Mm-hmm.
made huge dams. We probably have the world's biggest catchment area of rains. We have the entire Karakoram and the Hindu Kush rain, parts of the Himalayan range. And they say that River Indus comes from the Himalayas and close to a place called somewhere in Tibet. But I've seen it entering into Pakistan, and at that point of entry, the size of River Indus is much smaller than the Baltora River, and they both join up ultimately. So uh, the water, the colossal amount of water which comes down from the Himalayas, Karakoram, and Hindu Kush ranges is tremendous. And
Okay.
for this tremendous amount of water, we need to have big dams, some big dams. And I personally think Sawai is the best choice. It's not on a fault line. By the way, I hope you know, Basha is on a fault line, and
Mhm.
it needs very, very technical handling as far as its lake bed is concerned. There's some special type of cement work, concrete work with steel, grouting, all that has to take place. And then it's right on the fault line. It's the same fault line which caused havoc in 2005 earthquake. So
Mhm.
we have to be careful about that also. And we must remember there was a glacier which split at Bunji,
Okay.
uh, and the entire Sikh army camped near Attak was wiped out once upon a time. We must have that lesson of history also. Sama offers the best choice, and it will become the world's biggest, and it is a natural reservoir. You see, prehistorically, this was a huge lake.
Mhm.
It was a huge lake prehistorically, and even today, in the areas of the Swan Depression, you find water at a depth of 4, 5, 6 feet. It is so waterlogged,
Mhm.
and it's a beautiful area for flora and fauna, for vegetation which does not have deep roots,
Mhm.
because if the roots are deep, the water affects the growth of the plants and everything. It's a beautiful area. Punjab has to sacrifice, and we must go for a very big dam, perhaps the world's biggest dam.
All right.
That's my point. You also asked about water shortage in Pakistan.
Yes.
Uh, there is no water shortage in Pakistan. We've got huge water. We are wasting it in flood irrigation, which is not needed. We have to change um, our way of watering our fields. So what flood irrigation do is it makes the soil saline, it makes it less productive, it causes waterlogging, it destroys the roots of the plant, it kills all the anaerobic bacteria, which
Mhm.
stores a huge amount of carbon dioxide in the soil, maybe six
Right.
inches below the main soil. So uh, the issue is water management. As far as drinking water is concerned, yes, there has been a drain of drinking water resources, underground aquifers, because of the unrestricted use of tube wells. So now uh, I was surprised at one of the sites in Rawalpindi, the water was mineralized and potable after treatment. 3 years ago, 500 parts per million TDS, total dissolved solids, and within 3 years, it's gone up to 1,200
Mhm.
ppm total dissolved solids. So
Mhm.
how come this sweet water source is converting into brackish water? It's because the aquifers are drying up, water
Mhm.
is being sucked out, and they are not being recharged. And one of the major reasons of recharging is that the areas which used to recharge water have been converted into concrete, housing colonies all around, whether it is Lahore, whether it is Karachi, or it is Rawalpindi, Islamabad. And this effect has immediately started showing.
All right. So you also mentioned that, of course, I also, just I knew that, like, of course, there are four ways of, getting water in Pakistan. Of course, like, you're going to talk about glaciers, you're going to talk about rainwater, you're going to talk about, there are other two ways as well. So, but it's not rightly, we need to say that, of course, there is scarcity, in water in Pakistan, especially. But what I've also noticed are farmers. They misuse the underground water for farming purpose, for agriculture purpose, and there is no kind of restriction by using underground water. How do you see that? Is it justified to use or to take underground water and by using tube wells? What do you say about that?
See, and if you're using underground water, the current option world over is to use sprinklers, use drip irrigation system. But the system that we have introduced in Pakistan is much more efficient than the drip irrigation.
Okay.
Water is only let into furrows on two sides of a field, which is about 5 feet, 4 to 5 feet wide. And then from the furrows, the water seeps from the side.
Mhm.
The crops are not directly fed water. The roots have to grow long, giving more nutrition and strength to the plant, especially against strong winds.
Mhm.
And then they reach out to the water. So this makes the plant much healthier. And in our experience, the yield of crops in this case also increases by about 20-30%. So, which is a big margin. And the best system is to use furrows and provide water to your plants, including rice. Rice is not grown in flooded fields, it's grown on dry beds, raised bed, and the furrows provide the water, and the roots of the rice plant, they reach out to the water, and the yield is much better, the size of the grain is much better, uh, the aromatic contents of the rice are much superior
Mhm.
because it's all natural. So there's Pakistanis have to go a long way, and especially as far as groundwater is concerned, wherever groundwater is used, either they should use sprinklers, drip irrigation, but the best is they should resort to raised beds and furrows.
So do you
It will
think that?
save it will save 90% of the water with the
Mhm.
furrow technique.
So from your point of view, do you think that there is a need of more technology in irrigation system? How do you see the irrigation system happening in Pakistan? What would you, would be
You
your
don't need
thoughts?
any you don't need any technology. You know the width of the tires of a tractor, the
Mm-hmm.
back tires.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly behind them, you have two blades,
Mm-hmm.
and the tractor runs,
Yeah.
and those two blades create those two furrows,
Right.
and they are tilted in a way that the entire mud comes into the center, and you have a raised bed.
Okay.
And then using a planter behind the same tractor, you
Mm-hmm.
plant each seed mechanically calculated at a distance with 10 cc of water provided to the seed,
Mm-hmm.
and rest of the water is released into the furrow. And by the time the water 10 cc, which is gone down about inch and a half or 2 inches,
Mm-hmm.
that is consumed by the seed. The seepage water is already reaching out to the seeds, and then first grow the roots of the plant, and then the plant starts coming up. Very simple, no technology. You just
Mm-hmm.
need one tractor with two or
Okay.
three different options. You have the blades. There is no tilling, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
no tilling. So you don't use huge tractor blades. You just use two blades immediately behind the tractor wheels. They dig the soil, they make the furrow, and the mud is slanted and put into the center. They make a raised bed. It has an extension further. It flattens the raised bed at the same time in one go. And then you remove that attachment, and then you put the other, and then you grow wheat or whatever with the planter. And later on, once the crop has gone up, then you put the thresher on it and you cut the crop and you take it away. So one tractor is enough for 1 square of land,
Wow.
or
So
even
I
more
mean,
than that.
there's not much need of
No
technology.
more,
There's
no.
much need.
You don't need
Yes.
technology, so much of technology with thinking. You need genetics, you need the use natural seeds,
All right.
use natural methods,
Mm-hmm.
and your yield is better. Your quality of food is much superior to organic food. And
Mm-hmm.
because your cost inputs are so low, a normal agriculturist spends about 650 to 700 rupees per bond
Mm-hmm.
of wheat. Our
All right.
agriculturist spends less than 200.
Mm-hmm.
That 500 rupees advantage, you can
Mm-hmm.
see the cost coming down, or
Right.
the poor farmer making big profits, improving his standard of life.
Wow. That's amazing, sir. Really amazing facts about it. Okay, so I would just pose the last question to you, and if you can just shed some light on that, that what is the reason behind that we have a kind of more why our import is more than our export, like for in regards for commodities and
What do we
products.
import? The reason is we are not producing enough uh, goods indigenously. We don't have much of a value addition system. Any value addition system we had has been destroyed by consumerism, which started somewhere in 2002 because of cheap imports from China.
Mhm.
And that has disrupted the entire cycle. It was only in the past 3 years that we started going into value addition, and it was for this reason that Pakistan recorded record exports in terms of and we need foreign exchange to stabilize the rupee for the balance of payments, current account deficit, and everything. So if we earn more dollars and more dollars are coming to Pakistan, then the
Yeah.
second part is about imports.
Mhm.
Imports are more because many of our exports also rely on imported components.
Mhm.
For example, there are fibers we have to import. We export raw cotton and we import yarn.
Mhm.
Previously, all these factories were in Pakistan. But in the past 20 years, they've shifted abroad to Thailand, to Bangladesh. It's basically Pakistani cotton.
Right.
Uh, uh, so, all these things have to come. Second component is that if we want to take a leap uh, in the automotive industry, for a time we have to rely on imports.
Mm-hmm.
And then through deletion programs, slowly and slowly, our indigenous production takes over. The problem is in Pakistan, these deletion programs have never been regulated and followed strictly. But now, it was first time in the history of Pakistan that we have exported world-class SUVs,
Mm.
and
Wow.
the export bill has yet to come back. Obviously, this export of cars is based on imported components, but
Right.
it will balance out once we get our payments. Normally, it takes 90 days or something, and they come back into Pakistan, and that is when. So it is these periods where your money is stuck in the cycle that you need stability for your economy. That the previous government was doing.
Okay.
Because this government is not doing, ultimately, it may turn out to be better, but
Mm-hmm.
grass are Imran Khan, not
Mm-hmm.
because of any effort of this government.
Mm-hmm. We can hope for the best, sir. Of course, we from our side, we can think that better government should come and, of course, like should run the country. For now, unfortunately, I have to close the session. But inshallah, I'll just ask you again. I will make a request that we can do another session on economy because there is a need that we can, bring more knowledge and awareness, and we can spread more knowledge and awareness from my side. So I would just say that thanks a lot for coming and to avail yourself your precious time to my viewers. I'm really grateful for this.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful being with you in this vlog. God bless you. May you do well, and may this vlog get plenty of circulation.
Inshallah.
Uh, Pakistan Zindabad.